Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Hello students, today we will discuss on second chapter of macroeconomics, that is national income and related aggregates. Before the estimation of national income, we will have to go through for the different terms, that is related aggregates. So related aggregates are some concepts which are very important for understanding the computation of national income. So first we start the different terminology which are related with this chapter. The first one is national income, which is the core element of this chapter. So how can we define national income? First we learn through the definition. So what is the definition? Look here. National income is sum total of factor income by its resident in an accounting year. So that is the technical definition which is given in the book. Okay, what is the national income? National income is sum total of factor income by its resident in an accounting year. Now what are the three terms, important terms are coming in this definition are? First one is factor income. We will have to understand what is a factor income. Second one is definition of residence, because most of the students get confused between the resident and the citizen. And third one is accounting year. Clear? So we will start with the different terminology what are given here. What is a factor income? What is an accounting year? And what is resident? Okay. First we start with the accounting year. So in the definition we will discuss about the accounting year. What is the accounting year? Normally in which accounts are maintained. So broadly we can classify accounting year in two types. One is called calendar year also. Calendar year which start from 1st of Jan to 31st of December. This is called calendar year. Some of the countries follow the calendar year as an accounting year. In our country, in India, we follow the year from 1st April to 31st March. That is also known as financial year. In precise, we can say we have to take all the items, all the transactions which are taking place in a year. For the context of India, we take those articles which take place from 1st April to next of 31st March. So all the transactions we have to consider which are taking place between these terms. Most of the countries, number of the countries also follow the calendar year from 1st January to 31st December. But we have to take in context of India 1st April up to 31st March. The accounting year clear, basically all the transactions which are taking place in a year, normal term as a accounting year. Now the second term which we have discussed is factor income, which was given in definition. Now the second term which is given here is factor income. Income can be classified into two parts. One is given factor income, second is given transfer income. We don't have to take transfer income in the estimation of national income. So we must have a very clear distinction between the factor income and the transfer income. What is a factor income basically? You can also say factor income is basically earned income. Which you have earned. That means either you have produced the goods or services. It shows the flow of the goods or services. Whether the transfer income does not produce any type of the goods and services. So there is no flow of goods and services. Whether there is a flow of goods and services. That means you have produced something and you earn the income. Here you didn't produce anything and you are getting something. For example, further we will discuss transfer income. I am going to give first. What is a transfer income? Suppose we have given a charity, donation, scholarship, etc. Even you are getting the pocket money which is given by your parents. So pocket money is also a transfer income, because you are not going to produce anything and it is earned. It is transferred by one person to another and we are not going to produce anything. That is called transfer income. I think transfer income will be clear to you. Now come to the factor income. What is the factor income? In the previous classes we discussed what are the factor of production. So first we will discuss about the factor of production. What are the factor of production? Land, labor, capital and entertainer. These are the factor of production. So what are the rewards posed to these factor of production is normally included in factor income. That is clear. So what is the reward of the land? We have discussed in the previous classes. The reward goes to land is rent. Labor gets salary, or you can say wages. Even it is also known as compensation of employee. Capital get interest and enterprise gets profit. These are the four reward or four income earned by the factor of production. So all these things will be added while we are going to estimate the national income. We have to take only factor income. We don't have to take transfer income. Clear? How can we differentiate between transfer income and factor income? If it is earned, if there is a production of goods and services, that means it is a factor income. If there is a no flow or no production of goods and services, that means it's transfer income. Only it is transferred from one person to another. So while calculating the national income, only we have to take factor income. Clear? We don't have to take transfer income. Clear? Because in the number of the question, this type of the transition will be given to confuse you. So do not get confused. You must be clear about the transfer income and factor income. If it is earned, if there is a flow of goods and services, that means it is factor income and it will be added. Clear? Now we will take the example. Third term is left, that is resident. So further we will discuss about the resident of the country. But before the definition of the resident of the country, we will discuss or we will take the example. Let's continue with the example. We have discussed accounting here. We have discussed factor income. Now residence is left. So we will continue with the definition of the resident. How can we differentiate between resident and citizen? Before it, we will take the example of the national income. Suppose there are 4 members in your family. Okay, there are 4 members in family. Your father, mother, and they are having, that is you and your brother or sister. So these four members are given, these four members are there in your family. Your father and mother, suppose they are working somewhere, okay? And together they are earning 50,000 per month. That is it. It is earned. They are working, that means it is earned. It is not transferred. They are either producing goods or services. So it is a factor income. So together, suppose they are earning 50,000 rupees. If some amount is transferred to you as a pocket money, as a scholarship, or any other amount is given to you and your brother or sister, it will not be included in income. Okay? So 50,000 rupees per month multiplied by 12, because we will take the income earned in a year. That is, we discuss accounting year. So what they have earned in an year, 50,000 rupees multiplied by 12. That is 6 lakh rupees earned by your parents, or that is your family income, 6 lakh rupees per income. Clear? Now two things are very clear. First one is accounting year, that is throughout the year what we have earned, it will be added in our family income earned by all members. Clear? Next thing is, it must be factor income, that is earned, it not be transfer income. Second one is resident, which is left. That means your father and mother and all people who are living in our country are the resident of the nation. Clear? Now come to the another example of the national income. We have discussed about the factor income. What is the factor income? Land gets reward, rent plus labor gets reward, salary or wages, plus capital gets interest, and the final one is profit earned by an entrepreneur. All these things will be added, earned by all residents in our country in an accounting year. So we have discussed factor income earned by our resident in an accounting year will be added in national income. So what are the factor income? Rent, salary or wages, interest and profit earned by all residents in our country for estimation of national income. Now you will be confused about the residents. Who are the residents? You have, I think, heard about the NRI terms. Okay? NRI means non-resident. Okay? So the two terms will be coming over here. Now we are going to define the resident. How can we classify who are the resident and who are not the residents? Okay? Okay. Now first we will discuss about residents. Who are residents? Okay. Residents and citizens are different terms. A person may be a citizen of India but may not be a resident of our country. Clear? So do not get confused between the citizenship and residence. Clear? Only we have to focus on resident. Clear? Now, a resident can be an individual or an institution. Clear? That means institution and individual both will be included in a residential. Okay? Now, who are the residents? That is basically we have to clarify. Okay? Who are the residents? an institution or person who resides in a country, we are talking about our country, in a country, or we can say our country, we are talking about the India, at least for 1 year. That means all those people, all those institutions who reside in our country at least for 1 year. For example, we are taking an example. Suppose Ram went to US and residing over there, that means in US, from last 2 years. Okay? So he is working in US and residing also in US from the last 2 years. That means Ram is not residing in our country. Ram is not residing in India. So he will not be resident of India because he is not residing. He will be considered a resident of US. Clear? In the same way, whether the Ram is a citizen of India, he is not an American citizen. So Ram is a citizen of India but not residing in India because he is working outside, he is working in US from last 2 years. Clear? So first clause which is given here, at least he must be residing in our country for 1 year. Clear? In the same way, suppose a person who came from UK, that is an X person, suppose we are taking X came from UK and residing in India from last 2 years. Clear? So that X will be considered the resident of India because he is residing in India from last 2 years. Clear? But he will be remain citizen of UK. Clear? So citizen and resident both are different things. So the first clause for resident is the person must reside in our country at least for 1 year. And the second clause which is given for the resident is he must have economic interest. Now there is another term which is given here. How can we classify economic interest? A person is having economic interest or person is not having economic interest. So there is no parameter is given in the books or in any part of the syllabus. How can we define the person is having the economic interest or not? First one is, what is economic interest? If the person is involved in production, consumption, and investment. If these three economic activities are taking place by a person at appropriate scale, I already told you there is no appropriate measure is given how much amount he is going to consume and how much amount is going to it is done by the person for investment. Though no appropriate figure is given, it is given at appropriate scale. It depends upon its income, how much he is earning. On that ground we can classify what is the amount of the consumption and investment done by that person. Clear? So the person is having the economic interest in that country and residing at least for 1 year will be considered as a resident of that country. That is clear? Okay. Now, there are some exceptions given here about the resident. Okay. Number of 3 times people get confused who are resident, who are non-resident. Okay. Now some exceptions are given here. You will find some people reside in our country, but they are not taken as a resident of our country. All those international organizations, these are the exception. Who are not considered as a resident of our country, whether they are living more than 1 year. Clear? So these clauses are given here. So please keep in mind who are not considered as a resident. Clear? The first one is any international organization. International like WHO, International Monetary Fund, United Nations, branch of United Nations, UNICEF, or other organizations. These are the some international organizations. If any of the branch is open in our country, it will not be considered as a resident. Okay? These are the some exceptional cases. Clear? They will not be considered as a resident of India. Second, border workers. In some of the cases, you will find some people cross the boundary, work in our country, and move to their nation. Okay? Like Bangladesh and India, we are not having the boundaries at the different level and the different places. But people migrate, people come for working in India, and after working, they move back to their nation. Okay? So in those countries, these people, these workers who come in frequently from one places to another places, from one country to another country, these are basically called border workers, will not be considered as a resident of our country. Okay? Third one is foreigners or outsiders. Clear? Foreigner, or we can say outsiders, who come India for sports. Suppose any of the event is going on, Asiad is going on, Olympic is going on, and the World Cup is going on. The number of the people, or number of the sportsmen live in our country. Even suppose they are residing in our country more than 1 year. Okay? But they will not be considered as resident because they will not have any economic interest. They are coming here for sports. Some people come for education purpose also. Some people also come for medical treatment. Some people come for recreation. Okay? So all these people who are coming for these purpose, for sports, for education, for medical treatment, for to visit our country as a traveler, these will not be considered as a resident of our country. Okay? These are the exceptional cases given. Okay? So please keep in mind who will consider as a resident, who reside in our country at least for 1 year and having economic interest. That is clear? How can we define economic interest? That means if they are involved in production, consumption and investment at appropriate scale, on the basis of their income will be considered as economic interest. Apart from these organizations, international organizations like WHO, International Monetary Fund, UNICEF or any other organization will not be considered as a resident of our country. Third one is border workers who cross the border from one place to another place. Like we have taken the example of Bangladesh. People come from Bangladesh, work in India, and after working in India, they move back to Bangladesh. Apart from people who come for sports, come for education and for the medical treatment and come as a visitor will not be considered as a resident. So that is the definition of the resident is given here. Now accounting year, I think it is clear. A year, it may be a financial year or it may be a calendar year. But in context of India, we take financial, that is from 1st of April to 31st of March. Factor income, basically we can say, broadly we can say earned income which we have earned. That means either we have produced goods or services. Third one is resident. That means factor income earned by resident. Clear? If it is earned by non-resident, that means it will not be included. So these three things we have to keep in mind while calculating the national income. Okay? So we will continue with the next topic. Let's start with the another topic, that is domestic and national concept of income. Clear? It must be very clear to you what is the items will be included in domestic income and national income. There is a very thin difference or a minor difference between domestic and national concept. Okay? Now first we will take domestic and national income. So what the items will be included in domestic income? All those transactions which are taking place in our domestic territory. Clear? Domestic territory, or we can say economic territory. We will further discuss about the domestic territory or economic territory, how it is different with the political territory, with the economic territory. Okay? So all those transactions which are taking place in domestic territory will be included, whether it is done by resident or non-residents. That is clear? That means who is going to produce is not important. Whether the person is resident or non-resident, if it is produced in our domestic territory, it will be included in domestic income. That is clear? So while we are taking the domestic income, all those transactions which are taken place in our territory will be included. Clear? That means if suppose any transaction which are taken outside of our territory, suppose it is our territory. Clear? Whether it is resident or non-resident. If they are taking a transaction, if they are involved in any type of the transaction, because it is within our boundary, domestic boundary, it will be included. Suppose any transaction is taking place beyond the boundary, here, that is suppose we have taken F, that is beyond the boundary, it is not our territory. Even the people are resident of our country, it will not be included because it is not in our boundary. So this must be clear. If transaction is taking place in our domestic territory will be included, whether it is done by a resident and non-resident. Okay? So that means residentialship is not important here. Where the production is taking place, where the transaction is taking place is important. If it is taken in our territory, it will be included. If it is not taken in our territory, it will not be included. That is clear? Now come to the national concept. Clear? Now what comes in national concept? The transaction is taking place by its resident. will be included. Clear? Transaction taken by its residents will be included wherever it is taken. Whether it is taken, transaction taking place between our boundary, domestic territory, or beyond the domestic territory. Suppose it is our domestic territory. If it is done within the boundary or outside the boundary, it will be included. Clear? That is our territory. It is beyond the territory. That is also beyond the territory. But it is done by residents. Clear? If it is done by the residents, any part of the world, it will be included in national income, national concept. That is clear? Here we are not going to discuss about the domestic territory. So boundaries are not concerning parameter while we are going through the national concept. Beyond the boundary or within the boundary, if it is done by the resident, it will be included. So I think it will be clear while we are going through the domestic concept. It means it must be done in our domestic territory. Who are going to produce, who are involved with the resident and non-resident, we don't have to bother. In national income, we have to think about resident. If it is done by the resident, whether it is produced in domestic territory or beyond the domestic territory, it will be included because ultimately done by the resident. I hope it will be clear to you. Now we will be coming to what is domestic territory or economic territory, because it is a little bit confusing concept. How can we define what is a domestic territory? A number of the exceptions are given here, so we will continue the next topic, what is domestic territory. Now come to the domestic territory, because domestic territory comes to a wider concept than political territory. I think political territory will be clear to you. These are the supposed dimension of our country. That is the northern part, southern part, eastern part and western part. That means from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, or you can say Andaman Nicobar Island, that is the southern part. From Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh. These are our called political territory. But domestic territory is comparatively a wider concept. Even some of the things which does not fall in our political territory will be a part of our domestic territory. And something which fall in our political territory but will not be considered as a domestic territory. So a little bit a wider concept given here of the domestic territory. Definition is given here. Geographic territory are those geographical territory administered by government within goods, capital and person move freely. That is an identical definition is given here. Okay? That means, for example, suppose we are taking example of the domestic territory, embassy. Okay. Now suppose US embassy is established in India. Embassy of US established in India. They are having their office in India. In that condition, you will find it is administered by the US, not by India. That means embassy is located in Delhi or Mumbai or somewhere else. But who is going to handle administer? US itself. Clear? That means we are not having any hold on the movement of goods, capital, any person, and it is administered by US government. So whether it is located, situated in our country, but it will not be considered as a domestic territory. Okay? These are the some exception and assumption. Clear? While go through the domestic territory, number of the things will be given here. Clear? In the same example, suppose India is having embassy in UK. Clear? So India also having number of the embassies across the world. So India is having the embassy in suppose UK, London. So London they are having the office. So to India itself. Whether office is located in UK. So UK, that embassy of the India in UK will be considered as domestic territory. Domestic territory of India, because who is going to administer? India itself, whether it is situated outside of the political boundary of our country. Okay? So these concept must be clear. What items will be included, what territories will be included or excluded from domestic territory. Okay? So it is completely broader concept than political territory. It doesn't mean everything which is situated within the political boundary of our country will be included in domestic territory, and also if it is located outside of the political boundary, it will not be included. So both the things are somehow different with political territory and domestic territory. Now some other example we will take. I think embassies are clear. These are the exceptional cases of the domestic territory. Whether embassy of US situated in India, in Delhi suppose, it will not be considered as a domestic territory of India because it is governed, it is administered by UN. In the same way, suppose we are having embassy in UK, London, it will be considered as our domestic territory. Okay? Because it is governed by India. In the same way, airways, oil rigs, ships, etc., which are working across the international order. They are working between two different countries. Suppose our oil rigs are working an international water body. Or our ships are working between, suppose, from Singapore to Malaysia or Australia to US. Yeah? Or our Air India, Airways means, suppose we are taking the example of Air India. Air India working between two nations, not only from India to other part of the country. Suppose we are taking from UK to US. Clear? So they are moving between UK to US. In the same way, oil rigs, ships, vessels, number of the things which move from across the different international borders. Okay? In that way, all these will be considered of the territory of India. Air India working, suppose, between UK and US. So can we say they are the domestic territory of UK or domestic territory of US? No, because it is governed by, administered by India. If it is administered by India, it will be part of the domestic territory of India. Oil rigs working at the international bodies, water bodies, ships moving across the world, all these will be considered as a domestic territory of our country, whether they are working outside of the political territory. That is clear? In the same way, military establishment also part of this one. Military establishment. Clear? Military establishment means our soldiers or our government had established a military setup in Libya, in Syria, or any other part of who is going to govern, who is going to handle, who is going to administer? India. That means whether they are working outside, but it is governed by our country. In that condition, these establishment will be considered domestic territory of India. So these are the some exceptional cases, or we can say assumption given here for finding out the domestic territory. It will be little bit difficult, we can say, or we can say it having the broader concept. Please keep in mind these are the exception. Embassies, these are the exceptions. If the foreign embassy is working in India, it will be considered domestic territory of those nations. If Indian embassy is working outside, it will be considered our territory. If any type of the organization like our Air India, our ships, our vessels, oil rigs, platform, these are working outside, it will be considered our domestic territory. If there is any military establishment done outside, it will be our domestic territory, because ultimately it is administered by our government. So I hope you will be able to understand the difference between political territory and domestic territory. On such ground, value-based questions are asked in board examination. Now, apart from this one, we will go through once again with the definition. We will go through with the different other terms which are used in this chapter, and very important while calculating the national income. Okay? Let's start with the next topic. Now come to the next topic, real income and nominal income. Now, how can we differentiate between real income and nominal income? Real income is calculated at constant price. Clear? That is calculated at constant price. Whether the nominal income is calculated at current price. Clear? That is clear? Now, constant price and current price are different. Constant price are decided by the government on the some price index, which we studied in the previous class. Now, current price is the price prevailing right now. At the time, what is the price going on? So, for the welfare concept of the income, we take real income because it is an indicator of flow of goods and services. We don't take nominal income because prices may fluctuate up to any extent. For example, suppose last year we produced 100 units of different articles. It includes grain, mail, cloth, machine. We have taken some example. 100 units are produced. Okay? Now, while we are going to real income, we will take the prices on the basis of constant price. So, suppose average price of this article was rupees 50. Clear? Now, what was the overall national income? 50 multiplied by 100, that is 5,000 rupees. Clear? It shows an actual real figure. Now, suppose in the next year also there is no increase or decrease, or there is no change in the flow of goods and services. Next year also we produce 100 units of different articles. The same units produced. So there is any change in the production of the goods or services. That means there is no extra flow of goods and services in our economy. Okay? Neither the units are increasing or decreasing. Okay? But while we are taking current price, suppose due to these type of the crisis like the corona is going on, this type of the crisis, prices are moving upward, or due to some global crisis, due to some other things, or other global economic affairs, the prices increases up to any extent. Clear? Inflation, hyperinflation, suppose. So in place of the 50 units, now the prices of the article, yeah, these are the 100 units produced. Now the prices of the articles reach up to 200 rupees each unit. Clear? Now whatever the over amount is produced, that is 40,000 rupees. Clear? So can we say our economy is producing 20,000 rupees of the GDP, whether the amounts of the units is same? That means it shows a fake picture of our economy. Clear? Because prices can be increased, the prices can be decreased, so that's why it cannot show the actual picture of our national income. So that's why normally we take a real income and it is calculated on the basis of constant price decided by the government on different parameters. So real income is calculated at constant price, nominal income is calculated at current price. Clear? So while we are estimating the national income, it is taken on the basis of constant price. On the some concept, constant price of current price, another term comes that is called GDP deflator. It shows the ratio between constant price and current price. It shows the percentage change in GDP due to current price. What is the formula for the GDP deflator? Current price divided by constant price multiplied by 100. It shows the change in GDP due to change in prices. That is clear? That is called a GDP deflator. How much it is affected due to change in price level? Because naturally there will be changes in constant price and current price. So current price may be higher or may be lower. Here normally it does not remain low. Every time because of the inflation, the price level increases. So it shows a certain changes, percentage change between the constant price and the current price. That is called GDP deflator. So real income and nominal income are different concepts. Nominal income estimated at the current price, whether the real income is estimated at the constant price. Okay. Now some three different terms are left. We will discuss it next time. I think you have heard about the direct taxes and indirect taxes. Next one is NFIA, that is net factor income from abroad. So we will discuss one by one and what is the role of these three elements while we calculating the national income. Now depreciation is also when we use number of the things, when we use machinery, there is a wear and tear and production capacity of this machine reduces gradually. This is called depreciation. Clear? How it will be used, we will further discuss. So depreciation, net indirect taxes. How it will be calculated further? Indirect taxes are clear. Indirect taxes are those taxes whose burden is shifted from one person to another. I think when you are going to purchase any article, it is MRP is mentioned on those packet inclusive of all taxes. That means VAT is nowadays removed. The GST is included. Okay? So GST is included in those articles. Okay? GST must be paid by the seller, manufacturer, but is ultimately paid by the individual who is going to purchase. So that means burden is shifted from payer to pay. Who was basically had to pay? Manufacturer. Who is basically pay? Consumer. Okay? So burden is shifted from salesman to or seller to consumer. Okay? So when these taxes are included, the price of the article increases naturally. Suppose the cost of the article is 5 rupees are added as indirect taxes. Now the cost of the article will be remain 15 rupees. That is called MRP. That is okay. So we will discuss about the net indirect taxes. What is that? We have discussed about the indirect taxes. What are the net indirect taxes? Clear? Further. And another is net factor income from abroad. Clear? Depreciation is clear. While we are using articles, machinery, their production capacity is reduced. What is the use of depreciation? One by one we will go through this concept. Depreciation. What is the use of depreciation? Okay. So basically that is a loss of the organization, loss of the nation. While it is not estimated properly, but it is not visible. Our production capacity is reducing because of the general wear and tear, and the machines are working for the long hours. But naturally, production capacity will be reduced. So it's loss for the nation, loss for the manufacturing units. So what is the use of depreciation while we are calculating GDP? G stands for gross. So when we have to convert gross domestic product, that means basically through the depreciation, this gross can be converted into net. That means GDP minus depreciation is equal to NDP, net domestic product. Clear? Because while we have calculated, we didn't reduce depreciation. Clear? So for final amount, we have to reduce the depreciation from our product. What are the final goods and services produced? So suppose we have produced articles of the 100 rupees, but due to the production process, there is a loss of the 2 rupees through depreciation. So basically, how much amount we have produced? 98 rupees. So when we have to convert gross into net, G stands for gross, N stands for net. Clear? Final one. Clear? So when we have to convert gross domestic product to net domestic product, depreciation will be reduced. Clear? In the same way, suppose gross national product minus depreciation is equal to NNP, net national product. It is converted. Now we have the another equation. We can convert NDP into GDP. Clear? So because you already studied in the critical equation, the signs will be changed. Clear? That is the first equation. It is another second equation when we are going to convert GDP or GNP into NDP or NNP. Gross is converting into net. Now in the next step we are going to convert net into gross. So suppose NDP is given, or through the example or through the illustration we are getting NDP, and the question it is asked, we have to convert in GDP. So suppose NDP is given, or we have calculated NDP, so we have to convert in GDP. That means now depreciation will be shifted to that side, and in place of the minus it will be added. So NDP plus depreciation is equal to GDP. In the same way, NNP plus depreciation is equal to GNP. That is clear. The use of depreciation is convert GDP or GNP into NDP or NNP. It will be subtracted. If we have to convert NDP into GDP, depreciation will be added. Clear? So use of depreciation is conversion of GDP into NDP or NDP into GDP. Okay? Now the next one which we have discussed was net indirect taxes. Indirect taxes we have discussed. What are the indirect taxes? The burden of these taxes shifted from one person to another, ultimately from manufacturer or salesman sales to consumer. That is our indirect taxes. Now how can we calculate it, or what is the use of the indirect taxes, net indirect taxes? We will discuss. Net indirect taxes, how it is calculated, NIT, that is called NIT. In the books it is given as a NIT. NIT, how it is calculated? Indirect taxes minus subsidies. Clear? in the numericals, while calculating the national income in the next chapter, we will discuss about the subsidies also, indirect taxes also. Both will be given, either NIT will be given, maybe given separately. So suppose indirect taxes are given and subsidies are given. So for finding out the NIT, we have to subtract indirect taxes minus subsidy. We will get net indirect taxes. Now what is the use of the NIT? We have discussed through the indirect taxes, the prices of the article. This is, so suppose GDP is calculated at market price for our company, we can say MRP, whether MRP and market price, both are the different things. Clear? So market price, suppose it is given, it is mentioned on the packet, MRP, that is our NP. Now we have to convert in factor cost, that is basically if the suppose the taxes are removed, what will the cost of the production? Clear? What is the amount paid to the factor of production? That means from GDP at market price, we will deduct from market price to NIT, net indirect taxes. So we will get GDP at factor cost. That means suppose indirect taxes are not imposed and subsidies are not given, then what will be the cost of production? What will be our GDP? That is called our factor cost. Clear? Factor cost means the cost paid to factor of production, that is called factor cost, and it is called market price. So for the conversion of our GDP into factor cost, NIT will be used. In that case, it will be subtracted. For conversion of from factor cost to market price, it will be added. We will have the reverse equation. For example, we are having the suppose GDP. It may be GDP or NDP. GDP, NDP, GNP or NNP. Gross domestic product, net domestic product. Gross national product, net national product. Suppose all things are given at market price, and we have to convert this into factor cost minus net indirect taxes. Then we will get, in place of the GDP MP, we will get GDP FC. In place of NDP MP, we will get NDP FC. In place of GNP MP, we will get GNPFC. In place of NPMP, we will get NNPFC. Suppose we have to convert from factor cost to market price, net indirect taxes will be added. Clear? For example, we are having NDP at factor cost plus net indirect taxes. What will happen? NDP FC will be converted into NDP MP. GNP is given, suppose at factor cost plus NIT. It will be converted into GNP at market price. So what is the concept? What is the use of the NIT? Convert from market price to factor cost. Market price to factor cost through subtraction of NIT, net indirect taxes. How can we calculate net indirect taxes? Indirect taxes minus subsidies, if it is not given clearly in the question. Or we can convert FC and factor cost plus NIT is equal to market price. So what is the use of the NIT? NIT is used to convert GDP or national income from market price to factor cost, from factor cost to market price. For this purpose, if we have to convert from market price to factor cost, it will be subtracted. If we have to convert from factor cost to market price, it will be added. Clear? Now the last term of the topic is NFIA, net factor income from abroad. NFIA, net factor income from abroad. Net factor income from abroad. Now, how can we find out net factor income? Factor income is earned income by its resident. Clear? Now, suppose we are talking about factor income from abroad. We are not talking about the net factor. Factor income from abroad. That means some of our residents working outside and they are producing goods or services, earning factor income. They earn factor income. Suppose 100 crore rupees are earned by our resident across the different part of the world. So as a resident of our country, this amount will be brought down in our nation. They will bring this money to our country. Clear? In the same way, factor income to abroad. That means some of the non-resident working in India, and they also earn factor income through working in our country. Yeah? Like in the movies, you will find number of the people are taking part in dance and other activities. They are basically outsider who come here for the recreation etc. and get the job and earn income. Some people also working here and leave the nation. Yeah? Because they are not comes under the category of the resident. So they come here, earn the income and take it back to their nation because they are not resident of our country. So to abroad, that means they will earn here and then take it to their nation. So suppose number of the people who are working in our country also and who are non-resident. Clear? So non-resident, suppose they also earn 50 crore. So that means 100 crore we will receive through the outside and 50 crore will move to different part. So what is remaining in our hand? 100 minus 50. That is 50 crore rupees will be remained with us. So that will be called net factor income from abroad. What is the actual amount which we have earned? That comes under the net factor income from abroad. That is clear? Now, what is the use of the factor income from abroad? It is used to convert GDP into national income or NDP into national income. It is used to convert GDP into GNP, that is gross national product, or NDP to NNP. That means this domestic product will be converted into national product, national income through NFIA. So how it will be converted to NFIA? Suppose GDP is given here. GDP plus NFIA. It may be plus or minus. Suppose a positive figure is given, it will be added. If the negative figure is given, it will be subtracted. We are taking plus sign over here. If it is negative, we will subtract it. So GDP plus NFIA, we will get GNP. That is clear? NDP plus NFIA will get NNP. That means our domestic product will be converted into national product. Our domestic product, net domestic product is converted into national product. Now meanwhile, if you have to convert gross national product, so it will be subtracted. If it is a positive sign, it will be subtracted. If it is a negative sign, it will be added. The sign will be interchanged. Okay. So from GNP, suppose we have to convert GNP into GDP. The GNP minus NFIA, it will be converted into GDP. NNP minus NFIA is equal to NDP. Okay? So what is the use of NFIA? NFIA used to convert domestic income into national income. What is the actual amount earned by our resident? Because what happens in domestic, by calculating GDP, all those things which are produced, which are earned in our domestic territory, even it is earned by non-resident. So ultimately, if it is not earned by the resident, it will be moved to the nation. It will be subtracted. And some people who are resident of our country working outside, it will be added. So that is the basic difference between the net factor income from abroad. The NFIA is used to convert domestic into national income. Okay. So these are the some basic terminology which are used for calculation the national income. Now at last we are going to revise all the terminology one by one. First we have discussed about the national income. The national income is sum of total income, factor income earned by a resident in accounting year. We have discussed residents also. Who will be considered as residents? Who normally spend or resides in our country at least for 1 year and are having economic interest. Clear? That is clear? That we have discussed in the definition. Another one we have discussed, economic interest. How can we classify economic interest? Who earn, that is production. Consumption. And investment. Take place at appropriate scale. There is no parameter of the economic interest, and we have discussed about the domestic territory. That is little bit different from political territory, which we have discussed. Exceptions, foreign embassies, aircraft, ship, vessels, oil rigs, oil platforms. And these will not be included, like military establishment also discussed, these will not be included in domestic territory. Further we have discussed about the real and nominal income. Real income is based on constant price, nominal income is based on current price, depreciation, used to converting net to gross. Or gross to net. Here we have to convert GDP from GDP to NDP or GNP to NNP. Depreciation will be used, and NIT will be used from market price to factor cost, or it will be deducted, or from factor cost to market price it will be added. NFIA, domestic income, to national income. So these are the basic terms which will be used for calculating the national income. In the next chapter, we will discuss the different ways or methods for calculating national income, and all these terms, all these things, all these our weighted aggregates will be used for calculating the national income in 1 year plus. I hope all the concepts will be clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can ask anytime. Good day, have a nice day. Take care, stay home, stay safe.